when I first met you, which was a few years ago, through a friend, mutual friend, I think you hadn't been in a rowing boat for ages, and you were like, "I've done with rowing. I literally put my entire body, heart, body, soul, mind, testicles on the line for GB, and performed at an elite sportsman level for 20 years, 15, 20 years, and you're done with rowing." But I recently saw you on social media rowing with James Cracknell again and winning. Right, so was that one of the things that helped you turn around? Was that one of the, I want to get into a boat with James again and do it again?
Yeah, look, okay, so let's rewind to that time. So I transitioned from being a professional athlete, living the sort of, living my dream, living the life of my dreams. And then I finished after that in London, and I had to go and get a job, right? Yeah. And maybe a lot of people aren't familiar with that sort of journey, right? Of transitioning from, the life being a full-time athlete to being a full-time corporate, but I really do know what both worlds look like now. But what happens is when we're working, and this, I think this is why it's, really relevant for you guys, the message that you're delivering to your clients. When we're working in the corporate world, right, there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure to deliver. At the end of the day, there's a bottom line, right? The business will not survive unless you make revenue, right? And, you're not, it's, I think you're a great friend. We have lots of friends at work. At the end of the day, we have to deliver value. So there's a lot of pressure. And that pressure means that you end up often having to work, a lot more hours than you're contracted to sign up to. But that's actually ultimately how you do. If you want to do something well, you just do whatever it takes to do that. But that means that you then compromise on actually living a really lovely life. Yeah. Right? Life is about living. Yeah. Right. And we stop doing the things we love. I think we do stop doing the things we love because they take up quite a bit of time. Like rowing, for example, does take up time, takes up 2-3 hours, or some people like playing tennis, or people like, running is maybe slightly easier to fit in, or whatever it might be, surfing, sailing, whatever it is. And so those just, you think, right, well, I've got to work now. If I just do this, then I'll get to that point where I can work a little bit less hard. But that just never happens in work, really. It never really, really happens because there's always the next thing. And then you end up living a pretty miserable life because you're just working all the time and you're not doing those things. And so I got to the stage where, I just wasn't, I was working. I was really struggling with work. I wasn't happy with work because it never goes the way we want it to go, right? Ultimately, always there's some challenge, right? And then I started working in the business that I'm working at now. And one of the guys that I'm working with was like, likes rowing. And he said, look, would you like to, can you come rowing? And I was like, this is the first time. So he's the leader of the business. And I thought, right, yeah, no, I'd love to come rowing. So I went rowing with him. And the way that he's developed, he's a very successful person. His life is he makes sure that he prioritizes doing the things that keep him healthy and happy, and then he works very hard, but he makes sure that there's always time in that day to do those things. So I started rowing again, and I realized this is something I absolutely love doing. It's made me happy since I was a young boy, and I live that dream. I put that back in my life, and then the rest of my life, just became much happier, and then I was able to work much harder and deliver better in work because I was doing the things that I love doing. It's sometimes easy to lose that context and that balance of what is life about, really, right? Yeah. We need to do things we love doing. Yeah,
but I was obviously following because you're a friend, and I've seen you on social media, and I saw you winning in boats again. And I thought,
and it's great to do those things, right? It's great to achieve those things, but you only do them if you prioritize them, right? And you can only do that by prioritizing. I think I'd got to the stage where I was trying to do everything of everything. Yeah. And some of those things were like the quick, easy fixes to, unwinding after work and, going for, the social things like going for a few beers with mates or, whatever it might be. But actually, I looked at it as that what are the things that are going to provide the most value in my life and the most healthy outcomes.
Yeah.
And actually, that was doing less of one thing and more of the, the positive, healthy thing.
I'm fascinated by all this as well because just watching.
But you have to make that conscious decision. You
Yes.
have to make that conscious decision. And a lot of people go, "Oh, I don't understand. I'm really struggling." And
Yeah.
and it's really hard. It is harder than people think because by human nature we kind of want it all, right? But to have the things we want, we do have to sacrifice some of the other things.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was a case of, right, what are the negatives? What are actually, if I look at, biologically, physiologically, scientifically, what are actually the negative inputs in my life, right? And there might be short-term things that are fun, but they're actually ultimately negatives.
Yeah.
And what are the positives? And I just started to eradicate all those negatives. And that was a really hard thing to do because it meant that some of those negative things are quite nice to do.
Yeah.
They're fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're what society's geared up around.
Yeah.
Whatever. And making more of a conscious effort because a lot of the positive things, like let's say, for example, going rowing at 6 o'clock in the morning, it's painful to get out of bed super early. Some days it's super cold, but the uplift and impact in my health and my energy levels later on, as that built over time, and my ability to be more present for my family and my children because I had more energy and I was fitter and healthier. My cognitive function, because I wasn't making myself more tired at the end of the day by having a couple of beers after work or whatever it might be.
So you've seen cognitive improvements.
Huge cognitive.
Really?
A huge So I'm now doing things in my professional career, financial services that I never could do, 10 years ago or over the last 10 years.
Okay.
But that's because I've completely eliminated the negatives.
Okay.
Right. So my performance at work is gone through the roof.
Brilliant. I'm delighted. I'm thrilled to hear that. I'm delighted to hear that.
But sorry, I was just going to add to this. I'm only able to do this because the business encourages it.
Yeah.
Right. Because the business, we look at it as, get things done, not just show up for, get things, make it happen, get things done, but do that around living your absolute best life. I think if I was, so I get to go into work on a much later train because I get to prioritize exercise in the morning. I get to take the kids to work, to school, all those kinds of things. But I only get to do that because I'm doing the positive things, right? Yeah. If it was because I was actually getting an extra 2 hours in bed and I was going out late in the evening and and I'm, I don't think I'd get it. It wouldn't be supported. But we have a super healthy team that I work with, and everybody kind of incorporates that into their lives.